Okay, I should be live. Hello to everybody in the future who's not yet in the live stream chat. Of course, the first like 60 seconds to 120 seconds is always reserved for the future peeps who are watching this after I've actually gone live, which is also when I take my opportunity to post and share this on the old Twitter. So, love doing these regular live streams. Actually, some things to kind of talk about today, so that's pretty cool. Let me make sure it looks like my internet's holding up, which is lovely to see. That does not always happen in my new home, which is frustrating. And I'll see who's jumping in the live chat in just a moment. No, this is not fun for the future people. Dead silence as I type on Twitter. But I'm almost done. And then I'll see who's in the chat. It's great because now that I've finally been on a schedule to do more regular live streams, it seems like my viewership is going back up for my live streams as well. These I love these Sunday or Monday live streams. I prefer the Sundays, and today worked out for a Sunday live stream. So let's see. There's a couple people watching, only one person chatting. That's crazy. Here I was talking about all this extra viewership I've been having, and there's very few people. But what's happening, Ice Sonic? Said you'll get your copy of Bowser's Fury tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Nice. Nice. Oh, hey, Zonum. Who's Grezzo? Grezzo is a third-party development studio that's actually worked on some of the other Zelda remakes and ports over the years. And I'll talk about it in a minute. There's an article I can share with you guys too that kind of sums it up. But they're apparently working on some new game for the Switch that's described as something that sounds like Zelda. So there's just sort of a small discussion going on around that. Maybe nothing too serious, but kind of fun and something to talk about in a live stream, you know? Skyward Sword remastered, says Dimitri. I mean, it could be that. I've been waiting for the Skyward Sword remaster, man. You know me, I've believed in it for a while now. Hello, Ken Zenith. Hello, Ryan Steffen. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? It could be Ever Oasis 2. Gosh, I don't know if they would do an Ever Oasis 2. Did Grezzo make Ever Oasis? Let me ask you that. I didn't play Ever Oasis. I didn't pay too much attention to it. Not really my style of. Let me get out of this. Not really my style of RPG. And it was on the 3DS. You know, right at the end of the 3DS's life. So I also wasn't really playing much. After Samus Returns, I was like, I'm done. And I kept my 3DS to be able to play Samus Returns, which I go back to every once in a while. Never played Ever Oasis. And Ian, you say they did make Ever Oasis. Okay. I'm only really familiar with the Zelda stuff that they did. So it's good to know that they made it. But I feel like, I mean, it's not like I'd have a problem if they made an Ever Oasis 2 for the Switch. I would be interested in it. But I think that most of us would be way more excited about a Zelda game. Sandstorm, what's up, buddy? I saw your response video. I didn't have a chance to comment yet on it. I'm sorry, man. But really good video. Really, really good stuff, man. I appreciate your response. It seems like for the most part, you kind of see things the way I do about the Breath of the Wild 2 and the Switch Pro thing. But you had a couple of different theories as well. But it was really good stuff, man. Okay, let's do that. Let me full screen myself here. Let me see what I'm missing here. Guitarzan says, I want another 2D platformer like Zelda 2, though I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, that would be cool. I appreciate you saying that because I'm one of the few people, and it sounds like you are too, who actually likes Zelda 2. I mean, God, when Zelda 2 came out, you know, I grew up in the 80s. You guys know, I'm an old man. So, you know, I remember the first Zelda blew my mind. I would have been 5 or 6 when the first Zelda came out. And then when Zelda 2 came out, it was so exciting. And all the kids at school were talking about it. And, you know, we didn't have our own copy for a while, but I remembered going over to my friend, I think it was Travis, my friend Travis, his house, and playing his copy of Zelda 2, and it was new, and it just blew our minds. We didn't care that it was different and side-scrolly and whatever, because at the time there were only 2 Zelda games. The Nintendo was brand new. Video gaming was just becoming a big deal again, and it was just a different time. And so just being a new Zelda game was all that mattered. It was really exciting. And I still think it's a good game. So maybe what Grezzo is making could be whoops. Maybe what Grezzo is making is if they're even working on a Zelda game, maybe it's a Zelda 2 remake, you know? Because that's the whole thing. If Grezzo's making another remake of a Zelda game and not some kind of new video game, then like Skyward Sword and Zelda 2 are like two of the main Zelda games that we all go and focus on, you know. It could be something where excuse me. It could be something where maybe they're the port team working on porting like the 3DS Zelda games, or even like a Twilight Princess and a Wind Waker. But I know Tantalus worked on Twilight Princess. I don't know who did Wind Waker. Who did the Wind Waker port from GameCube to Wii U? Was that also Tantalus? Let me see if this thing says maybe. Maybe that was also Grezzo. I don't think. No, that wasn't Grezzo. Oh yeah, they did do Ever Oasis though. You're right. I do see Ever Oasis here. So I don't know. Jay, what's up, Jay? My buddy, my main man, Jay. Grezzo is awesome. I agree. So I guess I'll just talk about the Zelda thing. I'll share this article just because it's a quick Nintendo Life article, and you guys can just like pull it up and look at it here. Go to that article. So basically, they're just working on it's like an unknown game, and they say it's indicated that the game will use Unity, Visual Studio. I don't even know what this is. GIT, Redmine, Jenkins. I don't know. I know what Unity is, and then it's a bunch of other stuff. They say the approach to the game's design will be, quote, medieval and stylish. It won't be photorealistic, but takes elements from reality and puts a design twist on them. The UI designers will be for the HUD menus and such. So, you know, they've made Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, Luigi's Mansion, and they also did the Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch. That's the most important thing, is they did the remake of that on the Switch like in 2019. So it's like, here's the thing. Everyone's jumping to this idea that they're almost for sure making a Zelda game, and they very likely could be, but it also could be a totally new game. I almost would, it's not that I would prefer that. I mean, I guess I would prefer that because newer is always better. Both new games and new IPs is always better than rehashes and remakes and re-releases and even sequels, really, mostly. That's stuff we need, more new and unique and inventive ideas and properties, just like the movie industry does. So, you know, they might be just making a new medieval game that's a new IP, or maybe it's a different series that's not Zelda. But obviously, it's most fun to think about them making a Zelda game. It is the 35th anniversary of Zelda, right? We all know this. We've all been talking about it. 2021, 35th anniversary. We're going to get a collection of 3 Zelda games and a remake, and Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out, and Link is going to come to everybody's house and shake their hand and bribe something that's medieval. What was the other thing? Let me look at it again. Medieval and stylish. It's like, well, you know, the Zelda games are like technically medieval in nature, right? I mean, it's swords and magic and dragons and spells and fairies and all that stuff. So it would be very, very cool. So, and when they say stylish too, that's the thing, is like, what I think they're saying is a specific style. So like Wind Waker is using a specific style, and Skyward Sword is using a specific style more than something that's like generic. So, you know, even the Link's Awakening remake used a specific style. So if they're remaking like Zelda 2, for example, which would be so freaking cool if they did that, it would probably have some sort of crazy new visual art style that is totally revamping the entire thing. So it would be stylish. If they're just doing a port or a bit of a remaster of Skyward Sword, which would also be amazing, then Skyward Sword is also very stylish, just by default. In its nature, it's a stylishly visual game. So they could also be referring to that. So anyway, that's the Grezzo stuff, you guys. That's what's going on. Now, I missed a bunch of questions and comments, so let me scroll back up and see what I missed here. Oh yeah, the Oracle remakes. So Nintendo Josh says the Oracle remakes. People have brought those up. Maybe it's those. There was the two Oracle games and then the Minish Cap. Those were all games that were developed by Capcom, as weird as that is. Or, then there was also this conversation about Phantom Hourglass going around out there too. I actually love Phantom Hourglass. I know a lot of people don't like that game, but man, maybe it was just my excitement for when it came out. I was like, oh my gosh, like a portable Zelda game like this. Looks like Wind Waker. It's on the 3D or it's on the DS. It's going to use touchscreen. And I just thought it was really a great, fun game. I really liked it. It was hard, but I liked it a lot. But I feel like it's not a Phantom Hourglass. I think it's either Skyward Sword or it's a remake of one of the other older 2D games is kind of my theory here. But anything is possible. That's just, I'm guessing here. Ryan Steffen says, do you think we'll get an online focused Zelda game like Mario 35, maybe like Four Swords for free? Yeah, Ryan, I actually mentioned that on Twitter. John from Spawnwave made a post about, Triforce Heroes and Four Swords would be cool. And I quote tweeted, I was like, yeah, actually like a new Four Swords game that's online would fill the same role this year that Mario 35 filled last year. So, and I didn't play Mario 35. It didn't really appeal to me. It's not my kind of thing, but I hear it's fun. Four Swords is my kind of thing. I love the original Four Swords. The first one released on the Game Boy Advance alongside A Link to the Past when they did the classics. And then they made a brand new game on the GameCube that was so good. So I would love to see that come back. I know I'm behind. I'm kind of scrolling back up for questions, guys. Wow, Guitar Zen says, yeah, man, Zelda is my favorite Zelda, mostly because it's action-based as opposed to puzzle. Yeah, it's pretty true. There really isn't puzzles in that game. Wind Waker was in-house, said Ian. Was it? Okay. That sounds about right, because I don't remember any studio being attached to Wind Waker. I just didn't remember that at all, so... I might have to miss a couple questions and scroll down, you guys. Hey, T. Fernbach, how you doing? How are you doing? Sandstorm says, I'm thinking new IP as another Zelda would be great too. Zelda 2 or Majora again. Yeah, maybe. Let me scroll down here to the bottom. Game Boy says, Phantom Hourglass was the first Zelda game I played and I loved it. Wow, that was your first Zelda game? That's a weird game to be your first Zelda game. But hey, man, whatever works. I liked it. Fortnite causes autism. I like that name. Minish Cap was my favorite. I liked Minish Cap. It was a hard game. It was one of the harder Zeldas. I liked it. It's a really cool idea. I didn't love it. But I wonder if I would play it now, maybe I would have a slightly fonder appreciation for it. Joshua Smith says, do you think we could get both a Metroid Prime trilogy and a Zelda 35th anniversary for this year? Would be great for Switch. Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I mean, everyone's like, oh, it's Zelda anniversary and Metroid anniversary. Are they going to do any one of them? And I'm like, they could do both. They should do both. I think it's more than they could. Really, they should do both. So, yes, I think the answer is yes, it's possible. I think we might see Nintendo acknowledge and recognize both Zelda and Metroid this year. I think it's almost a guarantee that they will. And hopefully they got some kind of surprise releases of some kind to get us excited. Zigbar or Luxu? I assume it's Zigbar or Luxu says, yo, it's cool to find another Phantom Hourglass fan. It was the very first game I ever bought, so it is a very special game to me, and a remaster would be amazing. Right on. You might be pretty young. Are you pretty young? If it's the first game you ever bought, or maybe you just got into gaming kind of late. But either way, that's a great first game to buy. So I'm really glad to know that you like that game so much. Paco Salvador also said you love Phantom Hourglass. Look at this. People like Phantom Hourglass. I thought everyone just hated that game. Ian Bose says, I remember Phantom Hourglass got good reviews. Yeah, I remember that too. I think IGN gave it like a 9 or a 9.1 or even maybe an 8.9 or something, but that's still a pretty good score. That's a really good score. Your boy Zach says Phantom Hourglass is underrated. All right. I guess I just have a bunch of Phantom Hourglass fans who follow my channel. I love that. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Very, very cool. Game Boy says it'd have Ocarina of Time, Four Swords, and Skyward Sword. Probably a collection you're thinking about. Chad Pape says, I cannot wait for Bravely Default 2, most anticipated game of 2020 / delayed 2021. Are you playing? I mean, I'm probably not. Honestly, Chad, I'm glad you're excited for it. Like, it's probably going to be a great game for what it is. It's not my genre of game. I've opened up a little bit to some RPGs and JRPGs lately, but I also tried here's the thing: I played Bravely Default on the 3DS, and I actually liked it quite a bit as a 3DS game. But I played the demo for Bravely Default 2, and I like the overworld art style so much. It's so beautiful. But I didn't like the combat and the gameplay. And this doesn't have to be part of a buying decision, but I do want to say that I really don't like the character model designs. They're just uncomfortable to me. They don't resonate with me. Nothing bad, nothing wrong. It's just, it's a specific style, just like any game that uses a specific art style. It's going to be, the kind of thing that works for some people and doesn't work for others. Some people love the Wind Waker art style. Some people hate it because it's so extreme. And I get it, even though that's my favorite Zelda game of all time. Like, I get it. That's the nature of choosing a very strong art style. And with Bravely Default, especially Bravely Default 2, they've chosen a very strong art style. And I think it works probably for most people. I think I'm probably, one of the few that it doesn't work for, but it really doesn't work for me. Now, if the gameplay was awesome and I thought I was really going to be into the story and everything else, I could deal with it. So I'm not saying it's 100% like my buying decision is because I think the character models are ugly. I just don't really, I'm just not excited about the game. It's not my kind of game. Maybe I change my mind because I am missing having a new game to play. I don't have anything new to play until Ghosts and Goblins comes out. And then after that, it's, Monster Hunter. But that's at the end of next month. So, and there's nothing coming out on even PS5. Like, there's no other games coming out except for Ghosts and Goblins and Monster Hunter for me. So maybe I give in. But honestly, if I give in on something, I'm probably just going to buy Bowser's Fury. I don't need 3D World because I own it, but I do want to play Bowser's Fury. So maybe that's what I give in on. I don't see myself playing Bravely Default, but I believe it'll be good for fans of that kind of a game. Anyway, let me see some more questions. The final demo? What are you talking about? What final demo? I think I jinxed myself because at the beginning of the live stream, I was like, oh man, I've been live streaming more. My viewership has been going up, and now my viewership's not very high. But that's okay. I appreciate all of you guys who are here, though. That is very cool. So many of you guys are regulars. Every time I go live, you show up here. And as somebody who's not a professional YouTuber and not a regular live streamer, I think that's really cool. So, it makes someone feel good when that happens. So appreciate you guys. Evan says, congrats on 15K. Thank you, Evan. It's been a long journey, a long grind to get this far. I'm not a viral channel. I'm not a huge growth channel, but I'm proud of having made something significant out of doing this for so long and doing it on the side. Like, I have a career. I just do this I've done Rule of Two Review for fun for 7 years, and I'm really proud of 15K. Some people would be like, oh, it took me 2 months to get 15K, and after a year I had 100K, and that's fine. That happens. That's never been my path or my destiny. I don't really know why. I have theories, but I don't want to go into the theories of why because it'll not sound good. Let me scroll back up. I'm missing some stuff. I already did that. Chris says, dang, Zelda must be old. Zelda 1 on NES was my first. Holy smokes. Oh, dang, I must be old, you said. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Zelda 1 was 86, 5? I think it was 85 in Japan and 86 in the States, maybe. Yeah, let me scroll down. There's a lot of... Chris says Bowser's Fury is really good. Yeah, I believe it's really good. Ryan says, my favorite channel, of course I'm showing up. Thanks, man. Very cool. I appreciate you. That's very neat. Let a man dream. Uh-oh. What are we dreaming? What are we dreaming about? Ian Bo says the second demo, not the first demo. They took a lot of... Oh, you mean for Bravely Default 2? I mean, maybe I should try the demo just to see. I thought there was only one. I hope I reach 1 million subscribers. Thank you, Fortnite. But man, there's no way. I have no chance. The only chance I would have is if I quit my job and started doing this full time and really tried to change the nature of my content to drive extra growth and algorithm stuff. And I said, smash that like in every video, which I've never, ever said. I've never said that stuff. Like, then I could probably, in another 10 years, I could maybe get 1 million subscribers. But my channel and the content I make just isn't really designed for the kind of huge channels that are out there. It's just not, that's not the videos I make and the content that I make. I think I make good stuff. And so I guess, being 15,000 subscribers, regardless of how long it took me to get here, is honestly, if I'm being realistic, it's probably appropriate for the kinds of videos I make and the kinds of discussions I have. I don't have, what's the word I'm looking for? What is the descriptor? I don't make, man, I can't think of the word. I just think that, the way my conversations flow, they just don't lend themselves to viral, massive growth appeal and YouTube algorithm stuff. I mean, the topics do, which is why I've been able to grow and why I get good views on my channel for the size of my channel. My views are actually really good for the size of my channel. Because they say like your average video should be 10% of your subscribers, and I average quite a bit more than that. So I'm really proud of that. But like, I don't know, the way I make my videos and the stuff that I like to make, which is also the stuff I like to watch, the kind of stuff, it's just not meant for huge growth. And like, that's okay. I probably could make a go at growing really fast. I could change what I do and do stuff that more feeds into like that kind of stuff, but I don't want to. A, it's not fun for me to make that stuff, and B, it's not what I'm passionate about, and C, I would be making content that I myself don't also watch. So I believe you should only make something that you would also enjoy. I mean, I'm a musician, so the music I've made and written and performed and recorded my whole life has also only been stuff I would also listen to. I'm not going to write or play a song, unless I was hired to do it, I should say. I'm not going to write or play a song that I wouldn't listen to myself. No way. Who would do that? So anyway, I'm just talking YouTube stuff. You guys don't care about that. You guys don't care about the YouTube. You want to talk about video games. Kieran Buckley, what's up? Kieran says, hi, Rob. Zelda 35th anniversary is this week. You think we'll get Zelda news? I personally don't think we will until April or May. Honestly, I'm kind of more with you, Kieran. Like, a lot of people have been focused on the exact date that the original Zelda released. And I'm like, I don't know if that was their plan. I think that they're more waiting for the right time to just announce Zelda news. I don't think they're worried about, like, it's the anniversary year. I think that's what Nintendo's focused on, is the year anniversary, not the day and the date and the time of day. Like a lot of people think. I mean, maybe that's what happens, but I'm with you. I think it would be later, a little bit later, a couple months down the road, that they would reveal some Zelda stuff. Or I guess that's not really true, because I think it could happen even next month in March. But basically, I don't think that any Zelda news is going to be tied to the release day, like a lot of people think. But we'll see. I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, because then we just get Zelda news sooner than later. So who doesn't want that? I want that. That is what I want. Is my internet holding up? Always got to check. Always got to check, because my internet is, yeah, we're good. Look at that. Beautiful. You'll love to see it. Sandstorm says, no way, dude. Be yourself. The channel will grow anyway. That's how you got this far already. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. And yeah, same advice to you. You know, you're just growing your channel right now. You guys should subscribe to Sandstorm's channel. I'll post it here. He's a good dude, starting to make some video game videos and stuff and some content. I appreciated you. You changed your green screen setup too, Sandstorm. I think that makes a huge difference. Having it basically be the background of your videos. Where the heck? Let me go here. It's always good to share some channels. Everyone should have a chance to grow. Here, you guys should go check out his channel. If you like it, you should subscribe. He's a good dude, talking about good gaming stuff. Guitarzan says, I'm a musician too, man. Talk about music all you want. Well, thanks, man. I figured because you have guitar in your name. Hello, Mr. Smart75. Evan says, what major games you think we'll get this year now that we know nothing? Do you mean because we just don't know what else Nintendo is doing for this year? I think that's what you mean. I don't know. I mean, I'm someone who still believes that Breath of the Wild 2 is releasing this year. I think there's plenty of reasons to think that that's the case. I think that we're going to get Nintendo Directs this year. You guys heard me say both right before the end of 2020 and early in 2021 in January, I made videos talking about Nintendo Directs, man. Like, I don't think that they're dead. A lot of people think that Nintendo's moved on, man, but not me. I think that they're coming back. You know, I mean, I think Bayonetta 3 will launch this year, despite all the weirdness and the secretive mysteriousness that they're doing. Like, I mean, come on. It's definitely gonna, Bayonetta 3 is coming out this year. Mr. New says, rule of 2, nice balls. Thanks. What else? I don't know. I mean, Pikmin 4, I believe Pikmin 4 is coming. I've thought it for a while. Maybe this is the year for Pikmin 4. Boy, I hope so. I really could go for a Pikmin 4 right about now. That just feels like the perfect appetizer to a Breath of the Wild 2. And I also think, you know, I think we're getting a Metroid Prime 4 trailer this year. I do. I really think we're going to see it. And I think we're going to get a Metroid game release of some kind. So, yeah. Integrity. I don't know what that means, but I agree, I think. Robin Clemens says, the way you do it makes it all the more enjoyable. Thanks. I think you're talking about my channel and my content. Yeah, thank you. A new 3D Mario announcement says, oof. Actually, I do think that that's possible this year. I do. You know, and then, Switch Pro? Is the Switch Pro coming? What the hell's going on? Everyone is so into the Switch Pro thing, right? Even before I say it, it's just like, oh man, Switch Pro talk. I mean, it's obviously possible. I'm not reacting that way because I think it's impossible. It's just because the conversation has been going and going, and it's like, bro, what's happening with the Switch Pro? I wish Nintendo would just definitively say it's not real, so just drop it, or they would just confirm it. And I said this recently. You know, for a long time, you guys have heard me state how I think that the next gen Nintendo console is probably sooner than most people are thinking, including even maybe at the end of next year. But what I will say, and I said this recently on a comment too, if a Switch Pro was announced and released this year in 2021, I will fully admit that my whole theory changes. I think that the next gen Nintendo console would probably be a little bit farther off if the Switch Pro turns out to be real. That will be when I will recant a lot of my theory about the next gen console. It's my theory about the next gen console is predicated mostly on the idea of the Switch Pro not being real, or at least not releasing this year. Maybe if it came out last year, but the pandemic could have delayed it or could have canceled it. Who knows? So if a Switch Pro comes out this year, then I think the next gen Nintendo console is definitely not coming out next year. But I still think 2023 is on the table if that happens. So that could be part of 2021 as a Switch Pro thing. Who knows, man? Are we getting Master Chief for Smash, says Carlos? No. And I know some people think it really is possible, and maybe you do too, and that's fine. But I just don't know. Banjo-Kazooie is one thing, and Ori and Cuphead on the Switch is one thing, but bringing Halo in any way, shape, or form to a non-Xbox console is not going to happen. It's just not happening. It's not happening. People think it is, but I'm telling you guys, there is no freaking way. That doesn't help. I mean, I will say this. Master Chief and Smash is definitely way more likely than a Halo game coming to Switch, the way people want to think. Everyone's like, oh, Master Chief Collection is coming to Switch. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's no freaking way that they will do that. they'll take their smaller Microsoft Studios games and they'll maybe continue to bring those over to the Switch because there's a good relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft. I get it. I mean, that's obvious. We all know that, and I think it's very cool. But they're not going to bring Halo and Gears of War over to the Nintendo side of no way. Just drop that. Master Chief and Smash, I will open a tiny window for that. If I really should be smart with Smash Brothers specifically, and I should leave a door open. That has a tiny chance, like 5% chance of happening. Halo on the Switch, 0.000001% of happening. But it's not happening. The baby for Smash, you mean like Other M? That would imagine just controlling a Metroid, actually. That would be cool in Smash Brothers. Zelda. I like how a histocrat, that's like the old commercial. Zelda. Tech Tykes. Octoroks. I saw that commercial as a kid. It blew my mind because at the end of that commercial, and this was before we had an NES and had Zelda, and I was playing Atari 2600 games as a little boy. And I saw that commercial. At the end of that commercial, the guy goes, "The Legend of Zelda, the never-ending adventure for your Nintendo Entertainment System." And I was like, never-ending adventure? It never ends? What does that mean? And it's some dude with a sword, doing stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. Again, as a 5-year-old, 5 years old, a child. But that's how old I am. So all of you guys who are much younger and didn't get to experience this back in the day, I weep for you because there's so much about the best parts of gaming history and Nintendo history specifically that you guys missed out on. Oh my God. I feel so fortunate to have grown up when I did. And being a teenager in the 90s, the best. I mean, I was so lucky. But going back to the Zelda thing, the way that commercial hit a 5-year-old's brain in 1985 or 86 was the best. It was the best thing ever. Never-ending adventure for your Nintendo Entertainment System. Yes, please. Inject it into my face through my eyeballs. Give it to me. It was so exciting. And then my older brother got an NES sometime after that. I don't remember when. I was a kid and brought it home, and it was amazing. Had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and The Legend of Zelda, and a nerd was born for life. What a time. What a time to be alive. For real, though, Switch with FHD? What is FHD? FHD resolution, and maybe even an OLED panel. I'm game. Yeah, I mean, if they do a Switch Pro, I think one of the main things a lot of us think they would do is improve the screen, and that'd be cool. I'm open to it. I can repeat over and over again in every video and conversation I have about the Switch Pro. I don't need a Switch Pro. I don't believe 100% it's happening. I question if it's the smart move by Nintendo, but I still would buy one if it looked awesome. So it's like, it's very possible for people to have, for multiple truths to be true. And so for me, that's what it is. Like, I don't need a Switch Pro, and I'm not even sure if it exists, but I'll tell you what, man, if it turns out to be real, and if it seems to be worth the purchase, of course I'm going to buy one. And yes, I'll even be excited for it. Like, there's no contradiction happening there. There's no hypocrisy. Anyone who feels that way, it makes sense to me. And I know you're not even saying that. I guess I kind of excuse me, I kind of went into my own tangent there. But yeah, I mean, a new improved screen, that would be exciting for sure. It sure would be. Excuse me. Remy Auger says, I think Nintendo should put all their efforts on Metroid Prime 4 and abandon for now the 2D games. If a 2D Metroid fails, it may impact the hype around Metroid Prime 4. Well, I see what you're saying, but I don't agree. One of the reasons I don't agree, and you could call this blind fanboyism, and that's okay. I'm just going to roll with it because it's how I feel. One of the main reasons I don't agree is because if a 2D Metroid game comes out, I just don't believe it's going to fail. I think it's going to be great, first and foremost, and I think it's going to perform well, second most. There's just too much interest and hype around Metroid right now. And on the Switch, where everything is a massive hit just because it's on the Switch, especially Nintendo games, I just don't see a world where it's not a successful game in both critically and commercially. But even if it wasn't, let's say what you're saying turns out to be true and a 2D Metroid game releases, and let's say it's not good, and let's say it doesn't sell well. I don't think it's going to personally affect Metroid Prime 4 at all. You're not crazy. Like, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. You're not crazy. I just happen to think differently. And I think that by the time Metroid Prime 4 comes out, man, you guys, I have such faith that that game is going to blow our faces off. It's going to blow our body into oblivion. It's going to look amazing. It's going to sound amazing. Samus is going to be the most badass we'd ever seen her. It's going to be so exciting. And so no matter what happened with a 2D Metroid beforehand, I think everyone is going to be like paying attention to that game. I just believe it. And I also firmly believe Nintendo will be putting their 100% into the marketing effort of that game too. They're like, this is the time to make Metroid the real deal and make Metroid Prime 4 the big hit we know the series deserves. And when Nintendo turns their marketing up to 11, they make magic happen. Case in point, Splatoon on the Wii U. There is no reason, outside of it being a good game, so it does have that going for it. It's a very good game. Outside of that, there is no reason for the first Splatoon to have performed as well as it did on the Wii U, you guys. There was maybe 9 million Wii U's out there, 10 million at the time that Splatoon came out, maybe. I mean, there was less Wii U's out there than copies of freaking Let's Go Pokemon sold on the Switch, like or Super Super Mario Party, right? There's like there was less Wii U's in people's homes than freaking Super Mario Party on the Switch, and Splatoon sold like 5 or 6 million units, copies. Like the attach rate is something like 40% or something on the Wii U. That's insanity, you guys. I don't know if you guys really understand how crazy that is. And I honestly believe it's not just because the game was good, because there were plenty of other good games on the Wii U that didn't sell just because no one was buying games on the Wii U and no one was buying Wii U's. But Nintendo turned their marketing up to 11 for Splatoon, and it worked. And it's worked for every game on the Wii U that they did that to, and it's worked for every game on the Switch that they've done that to. And so because I believe they will do the same for Metroid Prime 4, it doesn't matter that people didn't like Other M. It doesn't matter that people didn't like Federation Force. And if, per your theory, let's say a 2D game comes out this year and it's also not good, I don't think it'll matter by the time Metroid Prime 4 comes out. Just my theory. You guys know I'm a Metroid fan, super fan, Metroid expert. I've been following it since the NES game because I am an old man. I really believe that that's what's going to happen. So, and it should be exciting to all of us, really, because it means that Metroid is going to be set up to be its most successful it's ever had. Except for maybe Super Metroid, you know. I know that Metroid Prime sold more than Super Metroid, but I also just mean as far as everything Metroid, the response, the interest, the sales, the critical acclaim, the fanship. You know, Super Metroid really had the franchise at a high, and Metroid Prime had the franchise at a high in all these different respects, sales and interest and popularity. Since that era, though, I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to bring it back and set it up for its most successful new era it's ever had because of the Switch. Really, like it's going to be because of the Switch, you know, and also because I think it might even release cross-gen. And I think that'll also be so good for the franchise to release on the Switch. That's going to have 100 million units in people's homes, and also to release as potential hype for a next-gen machine that might even look and play better on that machine. It just, between Metroid as a franchise, the Nintendo Switch as a console, and maybe this theorized next-gen console, it's going to be good for everything. Everyone is going to be reaping the rewards in a scenario where that happens, which is, again, just my personal theory. And it could be a wrong theory, but I believe my theory has a chance of being right. And so, yeah, man, I had a lot to say about that, didn't I? That's a really good question. You really kicked off the Metroid stuff in my brain, which is not hard to do, to be fair. So, I mean, I'm just rambling. Let's see if you guys had anything to say about that. Let me scroll down. because I know I missed a lot of stuff. David DeSalvo says, "Hear me out. Metroid 6, skip 5." No, thanks you. No, thank you. Major Blazer says, "I'm from 99." Well, you were born in 99? Oh, so young. I'm from 99, but I grew up with 64 because we were broke. That's funny. Well, to be fair, the 64 was the current Nintendo platform at the time you were born. So you have that going for you. 99, bro, that's the year the Phantom Menace came out. That's the year the first Matrix movie came out. That's crazy. I'm trying to think of a big game that came out. I mean, that's the year after the Ocarina of Time came out. I can't believe it. It blows my mind anyone was born in 1999 or later. Turns out billions of people have been born since then, but boy, I missed so many questions, you guys. I was just blabbing about that Metroid stuff. I'm trying to find where I left off here. That was a fun topic. That was actually fun to talk about. There we go. Okay, I recognize that question. Hey, Rob, hope you're doing well. I just wanted to say, brings up Star Wars topic. Link, no! You did it. You done brought up the Star Wars. That's so funny. I love talking Star Wars, but the only reason I try to avoid it on the live streams is because that's not really what my channel isn't about Star Wars, even though Rule of Two Review is a Star Wars reference. So I try to avoid it because I just don't think most people come to my live streams to hear about Star Wars. But make no mistake, I love talking. It's my favorite thing in the world. Star Wars is my favorite thing. Okay, I'm just going to scroll to the bottom, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm probably missing a bunch of questions. I'm going to get to the bottom couple. Kieran says, "Did you try out Destruction All-Stars on PS5? No, I downloaded it, but I haven't played it yet because I don't care. I only downloaded it because it's free. I do want to try it. I want to see how it looks and plays. Maybe it's going to be fun. My younger brother likes it, but I'm not interested. Nubix Nubix says, "I think they might release a compilation of Galaxy 1 and 2 HD remakes and Galaxy 3. Man, I mean, we all want that, but that just feels like wishful thinking at this point. I want Galaxy 3, but I doubt it. Galaxy 1 already got the HD port with 3D All-Stars. So the big thing is, do they also make an HD Galaxy 2 and maybe sell it for $20 on the eShop? I think that has a chance at happening. Galaxy 3, I want it, but I don't expect it. So I do see you guys talking about Metroid, but I can't follow the question. Kieran says, "I think the Switch could hit 100 million during this summer." Probably not that soon, but I think we'll probably be around 90, maybe even over 90. Unless another big game like Animal Crossing comes out between now and then, but I don't think that's happening because we would already know about it. So yeah, they're not selling 20 million units between December and the summer? No. But they're going to sell between 5 and 10 probably. So that's still incredibly impressive. At the time I was Major Blazer, wait. Okay, Jacob says, "Haven't played Prime Series yet. I'm waiting until it comes to Switch, hopefully." Yeah, so many people are doing that. I hope they do it. David DeSalvo says, "Oh man, I missed you. Where did that go?" Gosh. Sometimes the chat jumps around on you guys, so sorry. Oh, I wanted to read that question. Where did it go? Here it is. Alternate theory, Prime Hunters 2 comes out for Wii in 2022. That'd be funny. A new Wii Metroid game. Luke's channel says, "Hey, I was born in 2002, the same year as Prime 1. Well, that's cool. That's the year Attack of the Clones came out, and it's the year Metroid Prime, the greatest video game of all time, released. So not a bad time to be born. So you're turning 20 next year, I guess. Very cool. Make a second channel. Oh, maybe for Star Wars stuff. I actually tried that at the beginning, but I don't have time to manage 2 channels. I mean, I'm too busy. Like, again, this isn't my job, you guys. YouTube is not my job. I know it is for a lot of people, which is awesome. And it's way easier for those people who do this full time to do stuff like that. But that's not me. I'm too busy. I have a full-time career, a full-time relationship, and a full-time band and another band that's on a major hiatus right now. And I don't know if we're even going to be coming back. But I do have a full-time music career. So I don't have time to do YouTube as a job or full-time unless I quit my career. And I don't want to do that. I like my job. I like having my job. So unfortunately, I can't do a second channel. Double dipping 3D World is a bad move considering you're only getting 3 more hours of additional content for the full 60 price. You'd be better playing a couple of games you missed out on. Interesting, Opaque. I mean, for myself, that's how I feel. I struggle to tell anyone that it's a bad move for them. My whole approach to this is like, everyone does what they want. Everyone has their own money and they spend it how they want. And if people already have 3D World or already played 3D World on the Wii U and they want to play it again on the Switch for $60 and get Bowser's Fury, I think that's totally fine. I share your perspective for myself. I'm not buying it right now. I might buy it in a couple weeks, but right now I've decided not to buy it because, in fact, I even have it sitting right here. I already have the game. I've already given Nintendo my money for this game, and it's a good game. So I don't need to buy it a second time for $60 just to play a couple of hours of Bowser's Fury, even though I might give in a couple weeks if I'm bored and don't have anything to play. But I think that, if anyone just wants to play it again and people are going to buy this game like crazy, then that's fine. I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's just everyone gets to make their own choice, and I don't think there is a bad move here. The only bad move is I think anyone who just like gets really pissed and starts yelling and swearing at people over their opinions. That's generally my thought about these things. Just don't be an asshole. And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying this in general. Like, don't be an asshole. Don't yell at people. Don't call people names. Don't tell them that their opinion is wrong. Don't try to find holes in their opinion over Mario 3D World, man. Just let them do what they want. Let them feel how they want. Let them share their opinions the way they want. As long as that person isn't being an asshole, then you shouldn't be an asshole to them. And I do see a lot of that on Twitter and on YouTube and stuff. Again, not here. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying that that's what happens out there. And it's like, I wish people wouldn't do that, man. Just relax. It's only video games. 3D World or Galaxy? You asking me, Low Rule? Oh, it's Galaxy. I would take one Galaxy over 100 3D Worlds. And I like 3D World. I like this game. This is a good game. It's a really good game. But Galaxy is 100 times better than this, in my opinion. So, but that's just me. You might feel differently, and that's okay. Oh my God. Oof says, I missed out on GameCube, Dreamcast, N64, PS3, NES, SNES, and I think you said Dreamcast the second time. Oh, I feel so bad for you. You missed out on some amazing gaming. Is that because, let me ask you, Oof, is that because you're so young, or is it because you maybe just weren't gaming during those eras? I'm just curious. Scott Turner says, hey, Rob, do you consider Cave Story a Metroidvania? I thought it was, but it was told the opposite. I don't know. I have not played Cave Story. I hear it's very good. I do want to play it, but I've never played it, so I don't know, unfortunately. Online multiplayer could be worth it? What are you talking about? What you talking about? Kieran Buckley says, being in a band right now must be difficult. Boy, is it ever. You don't even know, bro. But we're finding a way. Have to social distance. It can't gig right now with no time frame when it's safe to do shows. Bro, we had a really big show scheduled for April 2020. So April last year, April 3rd, in this new band, because this is a new band that I have that's kind of replaced my main band, which is on a major hiatus because that band is a very complicated band to work with. I mean, my bandmates are like my best friends. It's not the people. It's just what we do and how we do. It's very hard, unfortunately. But my new band, which is going quite well, our first gig was a big gig. I think it was April 3rd. And we were all ready. We had our set, our new album ready to go. We were going to throw it up on Spotify. It is now on Spotify, but it wasn't at the time. We were going to do, and we were so tight. We were practiced just perfect. And what happened in the 2 weeks before that? Quarantine, man. The pandemic was already starting to get big at that time in the beginning of 2020. We were nervous. We were practicing and getting together. We were starting to get nervous about practicing together because of, just knowing coronavirus was out there. And we were worried about the gig because we were starting to see signs that things were going to shut down. And sure enough, it shut down. So since then, I bought a house. I built a music studio in my garage. And we've had just a few scant practices. The studio is very big. We can stay far apart. But we've also been doing a lot of writing sessions via Discord. and virtually. So we're writing new material, but it's hard to get it all recorded and everything and do the drums from a distance. So we're trying to figure out the logistics. We've gotten a couple things done. But yeah, we can't gig. There's nowhere to play. There's nowhere to perform. We might try a live stream thing, but we don't have good gear to do that to the quality it deserves. So who knows, man? Yeah, it's hard. You know, quarantine sucks for so many reasons, but for artists who do like what I do as a musician, it's a killer. But if you're smart and you put your ingenuity to work, you can find a way to make it happen. And we are finding ways to slowly keep chugging along, but it is slow going. Hopefully by like the mid to end of summer, things are better. Hopefully all of us have been, I can just tell you, all of myself and all my bandmates, we are willing to get vaccinated. Maybe not everybody is, but we are. So hopefully all that stuff happens by the end of the summer, and maybe we can start playing shows at that time. We'll see. Major Blazer with the donation, $2 says, born in 99, but I wasn't playing 64 till 2005. Well, that makes sense because you're born in 99, but in 99, you were 0 years old. You really don't get old enough to play a video game until you're like, 4 or 5 years old. So in 2005, when you're about 6 years old, that's about the time you start playing video games in general. And like you said, you have, you said you didn't have a lot of money at that time when you were a kid, so you were playing a 64. I think that's great because I love the 64. It's one my favorite console of all time. So yeah, thank you for the donation, bro. Rule of 2, lo-fi beats to study to. Yeah. Where can you hear my music, Jacob? Well, it's out there. I could probably link it here. Let me find it. So I have 2 bands, you guys. I have one band. Am I logged into Spotify? Let me see. Oh, man. Oh, excuse me. Do I have my username saved? I think I do. No username? Oh, man, what a pain in the butt. Can I just go to Spotify without... I don't want to search for all my username stuff for Spotify. If you go to Spotify and you look up these bands, you'll hear me on drums. They're very different. They're both metal bands. Just link to them. So Sacrifice to Survive and Wrath Prevails. Sacrifice to Survive is a prog metal, prog rock kind of thing. We have a female singer. And so that's that. And then Wrath Prevails is nice, loud, obnoxious, heavy metal, kind of like Lamb of God. Our first album is the only thing that's up there from Wrath Prevails that we put out last year. It's very simple, very straightforward. The stuff we're writing right now is way more exciting than what the Wrath Prevails stuff is. But if you like metal, you can check out those 2 bands. Thank you, Hillian Geek. Sacrifice to Survive is actually a reference to a Veil of Maya song lyric. So if you know who Veil of Maya is, that's where that came from. But they named the band before I joined. So yeah. Very different kind. So Alexander Bayfoot? Alexander Bfoot. Yo, Rule of 2 review. When do you think Metroid is coming? Well, talked about it this year. I think we're going to see a new Metroid game. Thanks, Ryan. You said you just followed both bands. Thank you so much. Rise to Survive is slow going right now. We'll have exciting and interesting music than the first album. But that music was mostly written before I joined that, before I really got there. So yeah. Bad connection every time. How we looking? Am I still here? Am I still here? I think I'm good. Looks like I'm losing viewers. So I wonder if that's because of the internet. Stream is buffering now. Okay. Really quick. Gotcha. Stream hiccup every time. Sorry, guys. My internet sucks in my new house. I've got to figure out why. I'm really sorry. Okay, thanks, guys. Shveet. Low Rule Legend says, I love a metal band with a female singer. Such a beautiful blend of sound. Yeah, thanks. You'll like Sacrifice. I think you'll like the stuff that we're doing. Ghosts and Goblins, I need it. Yes, David Neal. Oh my God, I'm so excited for Ghosts and Goblins. So excited. Oof says, I missed out on these consoles because I am young. Okay, you're young. Luke's channel says, you're a metal fan? Listen to any System of a Down? Yeah, I like old System of a Down. Real talk. System of a Down's first album is one of the best metal CDs ever written. And it's, without question, the best music they ever wrote. It was such a unique, fresh sound. I mean, I was infatuated with their first album. The following few, I think, are good. Their more recent stuff I'm not a fan of. But their first album is incredible. Yeah, you agree. Dude, that first CD, every track is gold. Every single track is gold on their first album. Random question. What's your favorite part of Back to the Future? Oh, man. I don't know. All of it. I love that movie. Yeah, first is the best. You found Sacrifice to Survive? Okay, right on, Ian. Were you struggling to find them? Oh, you said Sacrifice to Survive is not coming up for me. I'm in the UK, so maybe that's why I found the other one. Huh. Well, it sounds like you found it. I mean, we've got just YouTube videos of the 2 tracks from our newest album we were working on for Sacrifice that has since been put on hold. Oh, interesting question. Mr. Young Hegelian says, do you separate the artist from the art? In almost every circumstance, yes. I am somebody who can separate the artist from the art in most situations. There can be extreme situations where that isn't the case. But in general, yeah, I can do that. I think it's important to be able to. Soryuha says, oh, Ish, I've been missing this. Sup, Rob, subscribe and hit the like. Yeah, definitely. I did get over, I got over 100 viewers for a hot second. So when I was streaming more regularly, like many months ago, I was averaging like 100 viewers per stream, which was cool. And then I took a huge break, and now it's been really low. I cracked 100 last time, and I did crack 100 for a hot sec today. Do I know John Zorn? I don't know who that is. Is that a musician, or is that like a YouTuber? What is that? Oof says, who the hell is John Zorn? Kieran says, I was a full-in bassist for a band that sounded like old school Bring Me the Horizon. Oh, nice. I think Bring Me the Horizon's decent. They're not too bad. I'm not super familiar with their music, but they're not bad. They have a very passionate fan base, though. He's a musician. No, I don't know him. I don't know Joy Division. I've never heard of Joy Division. Is it metal? And more specifically, is it progressive metal? Because that's my favorite kind of stuff. Periphery and Between the Buried and Me and Meshuggah, bands like that. Yeah, I've heard some Under Oath, Paul. They're okay. I don't love them, but I don't dislike them. Okay. Naked City. I'll look it up. I will look it up. Raiders fan says, do we think Metroid Prime trilogy is a real thing? I feel like it's not real. Well, that's a good question, man. Like, at this point, one would be forgiven if they felt like the Metroid Prime trilogy on Switch was just not real. Because it's just been forever. We've been talking about it. We've been thinking about it. We've been asking about it. We've been expecting it for years at this point, literal years. 2018 was when it started. So this is the 3rd year we've been hoping for and asking for a Metroid Prime trilogy on the Switch, and nothing has happened on it. So I think it makes sense if somebody's like, I'm not paying attention to it. And for a while, I said the same thing. I mentioned it on some videos. I was like, I'm done waiting for the Prime trilogy. Like, it'll happen when it happens. I'm done. But in all reality, I actually do still think it's going to happen. You can call me a fool if you want, but it just makes too much sense. And I think there's too much to the idea that the delay of Prime 4 delayed their plans for the Prime trilogy. I just think that makes too much sense. And so I still believe it's coming. And yes, it's the 35th anniversary of Metroid this year. And so, yes, I think this year makes a lot of sense to see it happen. So I'm standing by it. Now I'm getting everyone asking about metal. I love this. Yes, I like Dream Theater. Of course, I've seen them live. Yes, I like As I Lay Dying. I've seen them live. And yes, they have a controversial member of their band. Actually, a friend of mine who's a musician actually recorded a project with one of the guitarists for As I Lay Dying. Raiders fan says, yeah, I feel like we would have heard something official by now. Maybe. When it comes to the Metroid Prime trilogy, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that Nintendo's been waiting for the right time to bring Metroid back in a significant way. So I don't know Despised Icon, but of course I know Black Dahlia Murder. I've seen them live twice. I love Black Dahlia. They're one of the few bands in that kind of death metal blast beat genre that I really like. Because I don't like too much metal like that, but I like Black Dahlia. They're very good. I met the singer years ago at a show. I met him. Who the hell would think Prime Trilogy would come to Switch? Ooh, excuse me. Why would you not think it's coming to Switch? I mean, I think it might not, but I don't think it's crazy to expect it. Hey, what's up, Rufus? Yeah, I like Coheed and Cambria. Robin, I've seen them live. They're amazing live, and they're my younger brother's favorite band. He is obsessed with them. I think he has a tattoo. Excuse me. So, Alexander, you ask if I like Muse. Here's what's interesting about Muse. It's not my genre of music. I'm not a huge fan of their songs. However, I took my best friend, me and a couple friends took my best friend to see Muse years ago when I still lived back home in Denver. I want to say around 2012-ish, to see Muse at the Pepsi Center. I think this was at the Pepsi Center. Because it's her favorite. It was one of her favorite groups. She loved the group, so we all bought tickets to go see Muse. And I'm not a Muse fan, but I was like, whatever, like it'll be fun. I'll go with my friends and I'll just have a good time and we'll go out for drinks afterwards. And let me tell you, that concert was one of the top 3 best concerts I've ever seen in my entire life. Was Muse, a band, an artist that I'm not really a fan of. Nothing against them. It's just, I just don't have an opinion because it's not my genre. So I don't really care for those songs. But they blew me away. I was floored. An incredible concert. I mean, I can't recommend enough. If you have a chance to see Muse in concert, you've got to do it when concerts are happening again. Absolutely to die for. Amazing. Just listen to It Dies with Winter. Thanks. That's an older song, Low Rule. You should listen to Turning Point and Future Sun. That's the current stuff, and that's me drumming on those songs. The other recordings are not me. So listen, that's the stuff that we're writing for our new album that is now on hiatus. But yeah, It Dies with Winter is great. That's a very fun one. We used to play that one live back when concerts happened. Hello, Tech Dad. Hope all is well and you're staying warm. It's funny you say that because here in the Pacific Northwest, we are in the middle of like a crazy snowstorm that doesn't really happen very often. Major Blazer says, my cousins are playing the 360 right now. I just realized they are also going to be behind a few generations for a while. Yeah, that happens with kids a lot of times. Darkest Hour, I've seen them. I saw them live years ago. They're good. They're fine. Wow, this became the music cast. Raiders fan says, true, the pandemic has probably shifted release dates by a decent margin. I'm not sure what you mean there. But yeah, I mean, it could be either the pandemic or, again, just the fact that they had to delay Metroid Prime 4. But I just still think that the Prime trilogy is going to happen. Okay, I love talking metal and music, guys. I love it. But I do want to stay a little bit focused on gaming, if we have any other gaming stuff. Enter Shikari. I don't know that. I don't know them. Oompa Mouse says, I live in Naples, and it snowed a bit. It almost never happens. Wow. This whole week has been the year of snow in places it doesn't happen. Here in the States, Oompa Mouse, there's been a couple of places where it never snows or rarely snows, and it snowed. Like Texas, I think, has been getting snow. So it's just weird. Luke's channel says, just watched your podcast and discussion with Super Metal Dave and Joey Ferris. Do you mean the one on my channel or the one on Game Explain? Because we did one for Game Explain like a week or two ago. Wanted to say both were absolute. Oh, maybe you listened to both. Joey's to listen to. Do you plan on making more collaborations with them in the future? Yeah. Actually, Joey, Dave, and I think we make a really good team. So we've talked about some things. I want to have them back to do another podcast on my channel. So that's the plan. Watched both yesterday. Nice. Brent Jensen says, hey, Rob, been watching for a while. Thanks for the great content. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Wanted to tell you I'm thinking Metroid Prime 4 gets put on the next version of the Switch, just like Breath of the Wild 2. What do you think? Well, so I agree with your theory. You say just like Breath of the Wild 2. I wonder if you mean Breath of the Wild, how Breath of the Wild was cross-gen with Wii U and Switch. And if that's what you mean, then I definitely agree, actually. I mean, you've probably heard me say that on a lot of my videos and live streams. That's my big, wild, out there prediction that I've been sticking to, knowing I might be wrong, but I just think the next gen could be sooner than later. And I think Prime 4 has a good chance at being cross-gen. You know, I could be wrong, but I think just like you, I think it could happen. So Elliot said, here in Chicago, where it always snows, has been getting hammered the past few weeks after getting no snow for months. Wow. Tech Dad says, have you played Blue Fire? It's crashing like crazy on my Switch. No, I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I've seen the game around, but I haven't actually seen the game. Let me look at it. I want to see what it looks like. I haven't played it. I want to see what kind of game it is. Ugh, I need to do Blue Fire game because I'm just getting a bunch of blue fires. Is it like a platformer? Like an action platformer? It looks kind of cool. But you say it's crashing a lot. Maybe it's not ready. Maybe it's wasn't a complete game. Lower Legend says, okay, I listened to Future Son. Listen to Future Son. Hopefully you helped write that, or I'll look like a total ass again. Hello, great stuff. Yeah, we did that together. Yep. Forgot about Bayonetta 3. Yeah, man. Bayonetta 3. Oh, excuse me. I keep yawning. Why am I so tired? Sandstorm says, what do you think is happening with Bayonetta 3? Where do you think it'll land? I think it'll probably land probably in the fall. I think No More Heroes 3 has a good chance at being like a summer game, like July or August. I feel like Bayonetta 3 would probably be more of a fall game, like a September or an October. Hoofle Demon. Oh, Hoofed Lemon. I think you mean Hooved Lemon? Hoofed Lemon says, if Switch still has 4 years, do you think Metroid Prime 4 will be crushing? Well, no. So if the Switch goes 4 years before the next gen console comes out, then no. I think Metroid Prime 4 will be ready way before then. But I don't think it's 4 years until the next gen machine. I think it's sooner than that. Excuse me. So in that theory, I think it's cross-gen. But if I'm wrong, and it takes 4 years for the next gen console to launch, which would be crazy, because that would be 4 years, almost 5 years of a PS5 and a Series X, and Nintendo wouldn't have done anything to upgrade their hardware. I mean, I just don't see them going that long. But if they do, which they might, then no, I think Prime 4 will release way before then. I mean, maybe they do like a definitive edition Prime 4 on the next gen console, but it would be something where it would be a re-release of the game years after it came out. And that's not the same as the game launching cross-gen when it's brand new for all available platforms. That's a very different thing. So that's what I think. Yeah, I've been to a big outdoor music festival. Oh, yeah. Plenty of times. Oh, yeah. Furukawa stated we are midway through the life. Well, I doubt that. Did Furukawa say that? Because I know Kimishima made a vague reference to a 10-year Switch life cycle, but that was a couple of years ago, and that was when Kimishima was running Nintendo. He no longer is. Also, I think people forget that when he said Switch has a 10-year plan, that could mean one of two things. It could have meant the current Switch. He might have been talking about the Switch, which would prove me wrong, or he might have talked about a Switch family, which means things like a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 could be part of that 10-year Switch family plan. And they never really said either way, so that could go in a couple of different directions. Yo, Terminator Juice, what's up, buddy? What's up, TJ? Good to see you back, man. It says multiple devs had said that the Switch is a difficult console to port games to. So I have a theory that the hardware is I have a theory that the hardware is holding even Nintendo's internal teams back with its power, with its unique architecture. That's possible, but I mean, I don't know, Juice, because I feel like Mario Odyssey, and I'm not even the biggest fan of Odyssey, but I feel like Mario Odyssey is showing a pretty competent piece of hardware with what that's able to do. Luigi's Mansion 3, I think, is a good example of what the system's capable of. Astral Chain, stuff like that. I do think that overall, the Switch is still technically outdated hardware, though. So in that respect, I definitely agree with you. And I love the Switch, but I mean, if everybody's honest with themselves, like it's been surpassed. I mean, especially with PS5 and Series X now, like it's pretty old tech. That doesn't mean it's bad. I still love it. I'm still enjoying games on it. But at some point, Nintendo will realize, whether it's like what Terminator Juice is saying or just because of competition, at some point, they're going to be like, yeah, we have to move on, even if it's selling like crazy. And similar to what Sony did, where they carried massive sales success from the PS4, the momentum was still strong for PS4 going into the launch of PS5, and it hasn't slowed down. PS4 and PS5s are selling very well. So why couldn't Nintendo do the same? Just because the Switch is selling so well doesn't mean that they'll never move on from it. It's better to move on while your system is doing well into the next machine than when it's not. Even though, I mean, let's be smart here, because to be fair, the Wii U was not doing well when they moved on to Switch, and that obviously turned out well. So I guess to be fair, you could be successful in both ways. Nintendo did it well with the Wii U model. Sony did it well with the PS4 model. So I guess it really just depends, if we're being honest. But I would still think, in a perfect world, Nintendo would carry strong success and a strong brand of a popular Switch into the launch of their next machine, which I think could be sooner than later. But man, I'm just bouncing ideas off of the freaking ethosphere, man. I could always be wrong. I could always be wrong. Terminator, you were saying unique architecture. Got it. And I mean, it's funny you say that, because I'm very famously a fan of the Atari Jaguar, everyone's favorite crappy 90s console. I love the thing. I still have it. And it's funny you say that, though, Terminator Juice, because that's the exact problem that the Jaguar had back in the 90s. Is that, it claimed to be a 64-bit console when the 16-bit machines were ruling the industry. And so in theory, a 64-bit machine was like, oh my God, 64 bits, it's going to be the best thing ever. And most games turned out to look like 16-bit games. Like, very few games even took advantage of the power of the console. And the crazy story about the Jaguar is that it also had very hard to develop for architecture. And granted, I'm a moron when it comes to this stuff, but I've watched documentaries that explains it. It had the two 32-bit processors that they called Tom and Jerry. And just the way they built it, it was just so hard to develop for and to tap into the power that most developers just said, screw it, we're going to port our SNES and Genesis games over to the Jaguar. And so it just got a bunch of 16-bit looking games, which is kind of what you're talking about with the Switch. So, okay, lots of questions coming in. No, I didn't pick up Crash 4, Kieran, because there was too many other games out at the time. But I really want to play it. And now that it's coming to Switch, I probably will buy it on Switch just because it's also discounted. So yeah, I'm excited to play Crash 4. IZ Subs says, Rob, are you getting Monster Hunter Rise? Abso-damned-lutely, bro. I love Monster Hunter. I was playing Monster Hunter World this morning before I got on stream. And once I end the stream, I'm going to go right back to Monster Hunter World. I'm taking a couple of days off of PTO, using PTO for Monster Hunter Rise because I'm so excited. Terminator Juice says, I would have had a Switch Pro version out in early 2019 and a Switch successor in 2022. Yeah, man. I think that's part of been my theory too. Like, I think that the Switch Pro made more sense in 2019 or even last year in 2020. I actually think 2020 would have been a good time. I should make you a mod, Juice. I'm going to make you a moderator. I think that there's a chance, if there's any truth to the Switch Pro, which you guys know I've been back and forth on that, you know. If there's any truth to it, I think that maybe last year was a plan and maybe the pandemic changed the plan with the Switch Pro to the point that maybe even they canceled it because maybe their plan was for a Switch Pro in like 2020 and then the next gen Switch in 2022. And remember, 2022, we can say, oh, that's next year. They're not releasing a Switch next year or Switch 2 next year. But November 2022 is like 20 months from now. It's almost 2 full years from now if it was November of 2022. And so that's a long time. That's creeping up on 6 years. If the PS5 and Series X didn't already launch, then maybe it would be easier for me to not think 22 is the earliest it could show up. But I just kind of feel like that could make sense. But the pandemic might have changed things. And if a Switch Pro, I said this at the beginning of the stream here, if a Switch Pro releases this year, I'll change my theory. 2022 won't make sense for me anymore if a Switch Pro releases this year. I think it would be 2023 or later. And I already still think 23 is a plan. My target year for a Switch 2 has been 22 or 23, has been my theory. And it's an out there prediction, okay? It's supposed to be bold. It's supposed to sound crazy. It's supposed to make most people say, no way. It's supposed to make people do that, but I just think it's possible. So, do I think Retro has a pre-Prime 4 game to release? You know what, Wyatt? That's actually a really good question. And I think most people would say no. And honestly, no is probably the right answer, but I don't think it's crazy. I think there's a chance that that other weird game that Retro has been working on for 100 years that we don't know anything about, I don't necessarily buy into this theory that it was canceled for them to start working on Prime 4. I would like to think they continued having a team work on it, but most people still moved on to Prime 4. So I like to think that that game is still being made, and maybe it's a game that is announced this year, and maybe it comes out before Prime 4. It's not crazy. Oof says a Switch Pro was never planned. Even fucking Nintendo said they won't make one. I mean, I don't know. You know that I'm not somebody who 100% believes in a Switch Pro, but I also think it is possible. So I don't know if, the Doug Bowser quotes, which I think is what you're talking about, I don't know if we should take those at face value. He might have been very clever with his wording there, so I think it's still possible. Terminator says, now it seems too late with 80 million Switch owners out in the wild, so releasing a Pro wouldn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, I really think we're on the same page, Juice. I tend to agree with a lot of that. It's a lot of the stuff I've been saying for the last year or so. Like, I believe a Switch Pro could happen, but the reason I'm not 100% is for things like that. Like, how much does a Switch Pro really change right now? And if there's truth to the next-gen console coming out soon, then even the Switch Pro does even less. They'd probably save more money not manufacturing and marketing it and just waiting to move on to the next machine. Unless the whole thing about a 10-year Switch life is true, and we still got 5 more years of the Switch to go. 6 more years. Think about that, guys. People who believe in this 10-year Nintendo Switch plan, if that's true, we're only just about to hit the 4-year anniversary. You think we have 6 more years of the current 2017 Nintendo Switch? We'll be on to PS6 and Series X2 at that time. So I just don't. I know the Switch is popular and sells like crazy. Like, I get it. We all understand that. But that's just not how things work, man. No way. Switch 2 is coming way before then. Maybe not as soon as I'm predicting. Again, I always admit my prediction could be wrong. But I mean, I think at the latest 2024. I think the earliest is 22. I think the latest is 24. There's no way 25 is when the Switch 2 is coming out. No way. No way. But I guess we will see. Rob swore on stream. That's right. I was reading a comment. I try not to swear on stream anymore. I used to not care. Nowadays, I don't really like to do it. But I read a comment, and so I dropped an F-bomb. What are you going to do? Cover your virgin ears. My coffee is cold, and I'm devastated over this. Cold coffee. Have I ever played Astral Chain? Oh, yeah, I beat Astral Chain. I love Astral Chain. Not as good as Bayonetta, but it is a very good game. Sandstorm says, I don't necessarily believe it. I think it's the family. Oh, yeah, like the DS family of systems. Yeah, Sandstorm, I was saying that earlier, right? The 10-year Switch plan could also mean the Switch family, which includes a Switch Pro and a Switch 2. I think that's more what the 10-year plan was referring to, but a lot of people to this day still believe the Switch is meant to last a decade. 2027. Can you guys imagine? We wouldn't get a new Nintendo console, and I'm not talking about a Pro. We wouldn't go on to the next generation until 2027. No way. I just don't believe that. Don't believe it. I don't believe it. Alexander says, I got it from the money. Oh, what do you? I refunded from Cyberpunk. Oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Juice says PS4 Pro came out 3 years after the base PS4, so many new games could take advantage of the Pro. Pardon my French, but fuck 6 more years of this weak hardware. Juice trying to get my stream demonetized by making me read F-bombs. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think I like the Switch, or maybe I should say, I think I'm more satisfied with the Switch currently than you are, Juice, right now, which is totally okay. Like, I get where you're coming from. I still love the Switch. I enjoy it. I'm fine with it. I don't need much to change right now, personally, even though I have gripes with it for sure. But I do definitely agree with the whole sentiment of 6 more years is way too long. I love the damn Switch, but I don't want it for another 6 years. By November of 2022 or summer of 23, I think I'll feel pretty ready to move on. You know, I'm good for another 2 years. Don't get me wrong. I'm fine for another 2 years with the Switch. I'm not asking for a next gen right now. But at some point, it's going to be time. Oof says the Switch hardware sucks compared to PS5. Well, it depends on what you mean by sucks. It's obviously not as capable as the PS5. I think the Switch hardware is still really cool and impressive for what it is, though. So, you know, that's just me. Stakona says, man, when little cannot wait to be an adult to swear, and then immature adulthood swears like a sailor and then gets older, stops swearing because it is pointless. I don't understand what you're saying. I thought my fiance was coming in. Oh, you made me coffee? I heard someone's coffee. I'm such a lucky man. Thank you, sweetie. Can I trade you then while you're here being awesome? Wow, my hero. I love you. Sweet. Look at that. I'm going to be a happily married man soon. How amazing. She brought me, and yes, you can see it's in my super cool, it's chipped here, but it's in my warp pipe mug. That was amazing. That was just what I needed, was some hot coffee. Someone deleted. Anyway, the last comment I was reading, I was not able to make out what you were trying to say. Oh yeah, yeah, it is Valentine's Day. Only day where she brings you coffee. I will proudly stand up for my fiance. She is awesome, and she would have done that even if it wasn't Valentine's Day. She clearly heard me talk about coffee, and so she brought this in. It also means I'm as loud as I think I am, that she can hear me outside this room with whatever I'm saying about video games. Ori is the best Metroidvania, period. I agree with you, Stakona. That's my favorite, personally. Oompa Mouse says, I love this mug. Yeah, pretty sweet mug, right? Can you guys see it steaming? This is good. This is good live stream content, right? Can you see the steam? I can't drink it yet. Homebrew says, it already feels old by today's standards. Imagine if they extend it for 5 years, please no. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like I said, I'm still good on the Switch for 2 years. But much longer beyond 2 or 3 years, yeah, it'll be pushing it. Brandon P says, I'd place Hollow Knight right above Ori. I think that's fair. I love Hollow Knight, but to me, I put it right below Ori. And honestly, I would still put Hollow Knight even below. Well, no, because Metroidvania, you can't include Castlevania games, so never mind. Forget that. Hollow Knight is best. Hollow Knight's great. Sandstorm, yes. Ori is really that good. Play those games and play them in order. Because Ori, Blind Forest is great, but Will of the Wisps adds so much to your combat and your abilities that it won't feel right going backwards. You definitely want to go from Forest into Wisps. Do that. Terminator Juice says, since Astral Chain came out, I've only bought Luigi's Mansion 3 and Age of Calamity for the Switch, and it's not because I don't like the Switch, but because they don't make new games. I mean, it's true. There hasn't been a lot of new games. I guess for me, I did buy Paper Mario, which was okay. Better than people said, but it wasn't like I didn't even finish it, actually. I got bored, but it is a good game. I think that's it. Oh, no, I bought Immortals Phoenix Rising on the Switch when it went on sale. And I regret not buying the PS5 version, but it's still good. So, yeah. Did you like Age of Calamity, Juice? I'm curious what you think about that. I loved Age of Calamity. Hillian Geek says, what's my all-time favorite console? It's the Nintendo 64. It's my favorite console of all time. And it's definitely mostly nostalgia that is peppering that opinion. I know, I get it's not a fun console to play today. I know that. But my favorite game, my most memorable gaming experiences of all time, next to playing Metroid Prime for the first time, was just the era of the Nintendo 64. I was 16 years old when that came out. It was the perfect age to be blown away. So that's my favorite console. Let me scroll down. My least favorite console? I mean, I don't know. I don't really think in those terms. What's my least favorite console? I don't know. I mean, so I like the Virtual Boy, stuff like that. Stuff that's like not good, but I don't really like hate any video game console. Because it's like, even if it's not good, it's like, who cares? Virtual Boy's not great. 32X wasn't great. But that was such a fun time in gaming. I appreciate everything that came out at that time. So that's just me. Brandon P says, I saw a video yesterday of Mario 64 with ray tracing. Looked pretty good. I got to tell you guys, over the past 2 years, I felt like I just blinked and all of a sudden, everyone was just talking about ray tracing. And I'll be honest, to this day, I don't even know what that is. I know it makes graphics better, but I just don't know what ray tracing is. I used to think it had something to do with shadows, but it's definitely not that. It's something else completely. So yeah, that's how dumb I am when it comes to the technical side of things, but I'm fine. I don't really care enough to know that much about it. Oh my God, Rotten Tanuki with a donation. Thank you so much. Says this comment brought to you by Day One Patch Kids. Okay. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. Terminator says, I have Immortals on PS Pro. And it's amazing. I know. I see all your posts about it. And Age of Calamity was really good too. Nice. Yeah, I loved Age of Calamity. And I like Immortals. It's a fun game. But for some reason, I kind of got bored with it. Not because it's, I mean, I like the game. I definitely like the game. It's fun. But I kind of stopped playing it. I don't know why. And it still looks good on the Switch. Like, I'm still happy with it on the Switch. I should have bought the PS5 version, but I just wanted a new Switch game, and so I did that. One day I'll go back to it. I only played it for like 10 hours, I think, and then I moved on to something else. Graphics don't matter. I mean, sometimes that's true, for sure. Sometimes it is. Can I drink this yet? Yes, I can. PK Gav says, Warriors games, you get burnout easy. I mean, I could see how some people could. I played Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U to death, and I played Age of Calamity, I mean, until I beat it. I put in like 50 hours, like just nonstop into that game. So they don't really bore me, but I can see how other people get bored with them. Saruj Gazarian, I hope I pronounced that right, man, said, I think if they're going to make a Switch Pro, they're going to make it most add 1440p support. Probably. I mean, it's not going to be 4K. If Nintendo's 4K system will have to be next gen, I would think. Brandon P says, looks like Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga might be late a little bit more. No, really? I'm waiting for that game. Even though I'm going to hate playing the last few chapters of it, obviously. Did they announce something? Why do you say that? Is there like news on it? Why do you say that? Talk to me. I actually am really ready to play that freaking game. Why is it so dark? Is that better? Or is that worse? I didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mispronounce your name. It's not easy to pronounce despite it being short. All right. SG. I'll call you SG. I appreciate you. Okay, so Stakona says ray tracing equals recreating real light. Okay, it is lighting. Recreating real lighting systems like the sun, which is why it is so taxing since lighting comes in many rays. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Would I rather so Cam Natalie Miles says, would you rather a Wind Waker / Twilight Princess collection or the Zelda DS games as remakes on Switch? Well, when you say Zelda DS, what games do you mean? If you're talking Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, which I don't like Spirit Tracks, I definitely don't care about those games, even though I like Phantom Hourglass. If you're talking about the remakes, the remasters of Ocarina and Majora's Mask, then it becomes a tougher answer. But I probably would still go with the Wind Waker one just because it has the Wind Waker, and I love the Wind Waker. It's my favorite Zelda. But I would say no to none of them. Wyatt says, after Metroid and Zelda, do you have a favorite series? I'm sure I do. What would it be? I mean, franchises that I love are like, Mario. I love the Halo franchise. I like the Uncharted and the Last of Us franchise. I mean, No More Heroes is going to be very high, especially now that there's a No More Heroes 3 coming. I mean, get out of town. No More Heroes is probably a top 5 for me. I love Smash Brothers. I love Rayman. So, I mean, I don't really know what I would say my third favorite franchise is. Probably something like you know what? Resident Evil. Ooh, it might be Resident Evil. Resident Evil and Silent Hill are both very high. No More Heroes, Resident Evil, and Halo. Probably pretty high on that list. Brandon P says, finally playing Uncharted 4 right now. It's a fun adventure. Yeah, Uncharted 4 is great. Don't ask Terminator Juice about it because I think he hates it. He's on that Tomb Raider train, which is a good train to be on. The Tomb Raider games are really good too. But I love Uncharted 4. I think it's a great game. Uncharted 4, unfortunately, fell into that trap that some video games and some movies fall into where when they release, the world is captivated by them and they love them and they're praising them and it's reviewing like crazy and everyone's buying it or buying tickets to go see it or whatever the case. But because it was such a big deal in its time, that as people get farther away from it, it starts to gain this negative reputation. And honestly, to be fair, the opposite happens sometimes too, where something comes out and it's like marred and everyone talks bad about it. But then as we get farther away from it, people remember it more fondly. I don't know why that happens. We're all guilty of doing it. I think Uncharted 4 fell into that, where it was everyone was like, couldn't stop talking about how amazing it was when it came out. But nowadays, if Uncharted 4 comes up in conversation, it's just people talking about how bad it was and overrated it was. And I'm like, well, no one was talking about it when it came out that way. So why did it change? So I'm not somebody who ever changes my opinions those ways. In general, it's like if I loved the thing when it came out, I'm going to still love it. But I can, to be fair, I can grow to like something easier than I can grow to dislike something. That's just me personally. Oh man, Robin says Silent Hill The Room was pretty nice. Yes, it was. I love Silent Hill 4. It got a really bad rap back in the day, but I loved that game. It scared the crap out of me. I love, and you know, yeah, it wasn't originally designed as a Silent Hill game, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's a Silent Hill game. It released as a Silent Hill game. It falls in the Silent Hill lore, and it was a really fun game and a really scary game. So screw the haters. Silent Hill 4 is a great game. I would love if they remade that. I think they could do really cool things with the whole apartment stuff. Oh, so cool. It's turning out to be a long stream. I don't usually do them this long. Maybe I'll try to hit 2 hours for the first time and then call it at 2 hours. Probably, granted, Emily brought me a second cup of coffee, so that's probably helping. Stakona says, why put your game right next to Zelda? That is the same genre as Zelda? I don't know what you mean. Juice says, speaking of Silent Hill, I just started the medium and it's pretty interesting so far. Nice. I really want to play that. I really want to buy a Series X and the medium is going to be the first game I get. I heard people don't like it though, Juice. So a lot of people talking bad about it. SG says Sonic Unleashed, Colors, and Generations also fell for it. How so? How do you mean? I like those games, by the way. Those are good games. Colors was really good. I agree. I love Colors. Oof says you gotta go. Later, Oof. Thanks for hanging out again, man. Good to see you, buddy. Sony releasing Horizon Zero Dawn next to Breath of the Wild 2. Well, okay, so the first two games released next to each other, but we don't know how the second two are releasing. Wyatt says, loved your show with Joey Ferris on Prime 4. Thanks so much, Wyatt. I appreciate it. That was really fun. Joey's one of my good buddies. One of my favorite people I've gotten to know on the internet over the years from doing YouTube. So, we did a podcast on my channel about Metroid like last summer. And then now he works with Game Explain, and I know there's drama and controversy there, and it sucks. I don't like any of that stuff. But, Joey asked me and Dave to do the podcast with him to talk about Metroid. And so we were like, hell yeah, let's do it. So it was a lot of fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun to do. It was hard to do because if you followed me on Twitter, you were already familiar with this drama. Most of you guys probably don't know this, but we recorded that, I think, on a Sunday. And the 2 days earlier on that Friday, I actually had surgery on my mouth that I'm still healing from. So I was 2 days out of surgery. I had stitches and sutures in my gut. I still have sutures up here because I had a whole thing done. It was terrible. And so it was hard for me to talk. And like my mouth was just doing bad things. So I had to clear my throat a lot because my mouth was in a bad situation. So I felt really bad about that. But the podcast turned out great. We had a fun discussion. The video turned out great. I'm glad that you liked it. Juice says, I got the medium on Game Pass on PC. Only spent $1 to play it. Nice. My laptop, it's supposed to be a gaming laptop, but it honestly doesn't run that well when it's gaming. So I don't really want to buy anything on PC. I have Game Pass, but it's on an Xbox One. I don't have it on an Xbox Series X, so I can't play the medium. Because I think the medium is only Series X, right? It's not on the Xbox One. I think, right? Um, you're seeing people hating on Sonic Generations? That's weird. Jeff Meacham says, Rob, do you think we'll get a Ninja Gaiden 4 someday? Possibly. Tough to say. I don't really have a strong thought on that. I just have to say maybe. You know, there's talks about a Ninja Gaiden port coming to Switch, maybe. So, Sandstorm says, got to step away. Spending time with Mrs. Sandstorm. Watching The Crown. Oh, right on. Yeah, I've heard that's a good show. Later, man. Later, Sandstorm. Yeah, this one I'm going to leave live. This one I will. So you'll be able to watch it. But I'm also not going to go for too much longer anyway. So, how's the PS5 going? It's going well. I've been playing Monster Hunter World like crazy on it. Honestly, I've actually haven't been playing many PS5 games on my PS5. I've been playing Monster Hunter World and Jedi Fallen Order mostly. You know, I'm really excited for actual new PS5 games to start coming out. I'm pumped for Ratchet and Clank. You know, I wish it wasn't June, but that's only 4 months. I can wait. I'm patient. Stakona says, do you think we'll get a proper remake of Super Mario Sunshine this year? No, I don't think so, because they just released an HD port. I don't know if they're going to make a proper a remake of Sunshine. I think a sequel is actually more likely than a remake now that they've done the HD port. So Oompa Mouse says you get stuck on an island and you can choose only 5 games to bring with you. Which would they be? Oh, you're killing me. 5 games. Well, okay. Well, Metroid Prime, obviously, that's no doubt. Even though Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda, I probably would have to still choose Breath of the Wild just because it's got so much to do. It would keep me busier if I was stuck on an island. It's the better island game choice than Wind Waker. I assume I would still have access to play multiplayer games. So I love Call of Duty. I love Halo. I love Smash Brothers. Those are all good multiplayer games. Probably Smash Brothers and probably like Halo Master Chief or something because it's got the most games. And then what would my last game be? I don't know. Maybe like Super Metroid or bro, I don't know. I gotta think. Long story short, I gotta think. I don't know. Maybe Knights of the Old Republic. I need a Star Wars game, so maybe I should take KOTOR with me. Where would you get Wi-Fi? I don't know. But it's a made up question, so I would just assume that there would be. You smashed the dislike button for me. Well, thanks, Crank Cuffin. I appreciate you. Who doesn't like a nice, healthy dislike? J2 Blue says, I'm in the belief that the Switch Pro is not a next-gen Switch, but a revision similar to new 3DS. Yeah, I think that's what most people kind of think, right? Isn't that what the general consensus around a Switch Pro is? I feel like that's probably what it would be. Or like, you know, like what a PS4 Pro was. Granted, I think a Pro was a bit more significant than the new 3DS, but excuse me. Yeah. Oh, Manuel says, love your videos. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. SG says, I think Bowser's Fury is the closest we're going to get to a Sunshine sequel, but the industry is way too unpredictable. It's true. The industry is unpredictable and Nintendo is unpredictable. So tough to say. I do think, and I made a video about this, and surprisingly, everyone's been talking about it now that Bowser's Fury is out, but I made a video weeks ago that I think we're seeing a trend because of Bowser's Fury to open world Mario. So I think that the next game is going to be completely open world. Not like pseudo open world the way Odyssey was, but I think like really open world. That's my theory. Juice says, God, I wish Bowser's Fury was a full-fledged 3D Mario game. I know, buddy. Me too, man. Me too. I mean, I'm not like ragefully mad about it. You know, I've discussed it in my videos. It is what it is. But I just know my buying decision is definitely based on the fact that Bowser's Fury is just a short little addition and not something more significant. So, Scarlet Infinite, I like that name. Scarlet Infinite says, could a PS4 Pro, or sorry, PS5 Pro ever be possible? Surely next step is disc-free gaming completely. Well, I mean, you know, that's a weird question. Yeah, of course a PS5 Pro is possible. Anything is possible. And there's a good chance that Sony does it again. They did it once. Why wouldn't they do it again? So maybe that happens. And then you say discless. I mean, that technically exists. There's Xbox and PlayStation consoles that are completely discless. So we're kind of already there. It's just not the standard, but it's there. It exists. Mario, Breath of the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't know. I don't know about that title. Oh, why do I keep yawning? It's only 12 o'clock. Stakona says, that is what I'm saying. Massive open world equals proper Sunshine remake. Well, not necessarily. They reimagined the design so you can travel to the locations and revamp the nozzles so you can swap between. Well, sure. I mean, yeah, you could remake and improve Sunshine. You could do that. I just don't think that they will. It's already not a very popular Mario game. We're lucky we even got the HD version. So I just think that we're probably more going to get a sequel before we get a remake. Do I have a Game Boy Color? Not anymore, but I have like 3 Game Boy Advance SPs. Rob getting old. Noon equals prune juice and nap time. Hey, you're not wrong on naps, man. I'm not afraid to admit that I take a power nap most days. 20 minutes is usually all I need. PK Gav says, Rob, in Prime 4, do you want beams to stack or be selectable? That is a great question, PK. Great question. Not enough people have called that out. I did talk about that on maybe a recent live stream where I had to remind people how Prime 3 stacked and the other 2 didn't. I don't actually know that I have a preference. To tell you the truth, my preference is whatever makes the most sense for the game. You know, the way the selectable weapons worked in Primes 1 and 2 was great for those games. The stacking weapons in Prime 3 or Super Metroid or Samus Returns or Fusion. Samus Returns was kind of selectable, but it still had stacking. Like, it works for those games. So I guess whatever they choose in Prime 4, I just want it to make the most sense for the game. I don't actually have a preference. It's kind of whatever to me. Homebrew says, I want them to be stacked, but also selectable in the menu like Super Metroid. Well, then they're just selectable. So it's kind of tough to have both at the same time. Because if they're stacked, you don't need to select them. The idea of stacking is that the new version still retains the old version's abilities. So switching doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense to do that. Stop trying to make a Sunshine remake happen. It's not going to happen. Oh, hot take coming in. Terminator Juice says, I don't even want Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch. I'd rather have them hold it for the next generation, to be honest. That's a tough thing. That's a tough thing, Juice. That's a tough thing for me to have an opinion on. Because, I mean, I've already said that I think a next-gen, cross-gen is likely for Prime 4. So it's like, yeah, I expect there to be a next-gen version of Prime 4. But because it would be cross-gen, that means it would still be made for the current Switch. And I think what you're saying is you like the next-gen idea because you think if it's only next-gen, it's going to just be, by default, a next-gen Metroid. It's going to be a better looking and playing game for all these next-gen reasons, which is true. And that would be exciting. I would be okay with it. But I just don't think that that's going to happen. And I think if we want Metroid to have the best chance at success it could have, the harsh reality is like the install base of the Switch is kind of needed. So I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm opposed to it, but if I think about what's best for the game and the franchise, I still think that the cross-gen idea makes the most sense. So, but it all depends on how long it's going to take to release the game and when the next Switch is really coming out. You know, we think it could be sooner than later, but we could be wrong. So it's tough. We're just really kind of pissing in the wind because we just don't have the answers yet. We're all guessing. Oh my gosh. Look at me. I'm just a yawn factory here. Does anyone want to hear a hot take? Sure, Oof, go for it. I thought you were leaving, Oof. You said you had to go. But yeah, give us a hot take. I'm all about them hot takes. Ian says, yeah, just give us the trilogy and a 2D Metroid and we can wait. You know, what's funny is I think that would actually be true. If we got a new 2D Metroid game and a Metroid Prime trilogy on the Switch, and then they told us Prime 4 is going to launch on the next generation, I actually think most people would be okay with that. But I don't think they will do that. Oh, hot take, GTA 4 is better than Breath of the Wild. Okay, whatever. That's not all that hot. I also don't really care about GTA 4, so. Kieran says, next gen's console could flop. No guarantee it'll be a huge success like the Switch. Yeah, that's true. Which is another reason why it makes sense for Prime 4 to at least have the safety net support of the Switch. Because you're right, it might not be a huge success. It probably will be. If I was going to go to Vegas and put money on it, I would put money on next console is going to be a success. But it might not be. So, lame ass take. GTA 4 is trash, just like all GTA games. Well, there you go. Terminator Juice shared his hot take. 2D Metroid would be better for Switch. I mean, I agree. Hell, man, I'll be excited if they give us an HD port of Samus Returns on the Switch. I would be totally okay with that. I would be totes okay, as the kids would say. Do kids say totes anymore? Is that the thing the kids are doing? I don't know. I'm not hip to the kids. I'm just looking up something real quick here. Okay, cool. 3DS wasn't as big as the DS either. Well, that's true. 3DS was still huge, though. 76 million units, that's a huge console by any standard. You know, 100 million is not the barometer for a successful piece of video game hardware. As much as people have it stuck in their minds that it's all about 100 million, that's not actually the case. I would argue anything at around 60 million or more is a very successful console. 100 million is massive, but I'd say 60, 65, 70 is a big success, you know? So, yeah, the DS sold way more than sold twice as many, actually. Twice as many as the 3DS, but 3DS was a huge success. 76 million is no joke. So, yeah. I like it. Now you guys are fighting about Grand Theft Auto. That's funny. Oh, what about Retro Studios? You guys talking about Retro? PS3 sold around 80 million, Ian. It was in the ballpark of like 80. Stakona says 40 million plus is a massive success. I mean, honestly, that's kind of true too. I mean, I don't know about that though, because I mean, the Xbox One sold like 45 million and that's not really seen as a huge success, but it's something. 40 million is significant for sure. Yeah, Minecraft though, I mean, you can't deny the success of Minecraft, don't get me wrong, but that's a game that's re-released so many times and is sold. People buy multiple copies. And there's like, I don't even know. There's like 100 different ways to buy and play Minecraft. I don't know. I've never even touched Minecraft in my entire life. So I don't really know. Well, SNES, no, because even if we say 60, let's say, okay, here's the thing. Let's get into this. Let's break it down. If we say 60 million is the barometer for a very successful, not just successful, but very successful, it's a big hit console, 60 million. If we say that's the barometer, then anything over that is a massively successful console, right? Or at least a big successful console. But that doesn't mean that 59 million and below is a failure. To be fair, a lot of it is relative to how big the industry is at the time, how much it costs to develop it, how many games are available, how much money is the company making or losing with each console sold, stuff like that. So when you look at the SNES, which I think sold in like the 30 million, maybe 35 million, something like that, maybe even 40 something, like there's a couple of factors as to why that's still a big success. Probably the biggest is simply just the size of the industry. The industry, the amount of people gaming on the planet in 1991 when the SNES launched, as well as just the amount of money being spent in the industry, was so much smaller than it is now that 30 to 40 million units of hardware in 1991 to 96 is a big success. You know, the barometer for a successful console is always changing based on the size of the industry and what period in history you're within. So the smaller the industry, the lower the barometer. 1991, when the SNES launched, that's 30 years ago. So, yeah, long story short, the SNES was a huge hit at the time. So, yeah, if that makes sense. Anyway, got to go. All right, later, Juice. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I miss chatting with you, man. Good to have you here. I actually probably will be wrapping up here. I'm going to wait 3 more minutes and cross the 2-hour mark because I've never done that before. And then I'll probably close this sucker out. I didn't say the 3DS wasn't big, just not as big. Yeah, that's true. You didn't. I kind of just went off on a tangent. But you're right. You were really just making a point. You didn't make any other. PK Gav says, got a dip. Looking forward to your next video. Thanks, man. Definitely have a couple videos coming this week. Hot takes. Take them while they're hot. You can't compare a system release 20 years ago to now. The industry is exploding. Yeah. So oh my God. Hoofed Lemon. I want to call you Hoofle Demon. Hoofed Lemon. Saying basically what I was saying. And what's crazy though, Hoofed Lemon, is that it's not 20 years. It is 30 years. Isn't that insane? It's 30 years since the SNES. No, haven't played the medium 12 feet tall. We were just talking about that though. I have not yet played it. Nintendo's first console is 1977, sold 1 million, and that was considered a great success. What was Game & Watch? What was their first gaming console? It was just Game & Watch. Was that 77? I don't think it was that old. I thought it was like early 80s. SNES sold 49.1 million units. Gosh. So thanks, Hernan. I appreciate that. You know what that means? That means that even by today's standards, the SNES was a big hit. I feel like that would translate to like in the range of 80 to 90 million by today's numbers. You know, if you could adjust for inflation the way you do like with box office totals. I mean, I'm kind of playing fast and loose with those numbers, but I feel like I'm pretty close there. Hey, Diz, what's happening? Just want to say hello. Happy V-Day to you and your gal / animal fan. Yeah, same to you guys. Happy V-Day. Hope you guys are doing well. How's the snow treating you guys up there? We've had a lot of snow where I am. And I know you guys have had a bunch of snow too. Because our whole state got pounded. J&J says graphically Bowser's Fury is a disappointment. Really? Man, I haven't played it in person, but from what I've seen from videos, I think it looks beautiful. But you're saying it's disappointing. Okay. There was a lot of snow in Holland, says Oof. Yeah, a lot of snow this week. Worldwide, it seems. Wow, 9 inches and still going, eh? We've had, I think, like 5 or 6 inches, which is, especially for where we are, is a lot. But 9 inches, that's a lot of snow. And it was snowing a little bit this morning. It had stopped snowing by the time I got on stream. I have no idea if it's snowing right now. I'd have to look. Wow, did that really go out of focus? Focus. Well, I hit 2 hours, guys. I think it's time for me to retire. This was an epic stream, though. This was a lot of fun. 2-hour stream. I've never done this. Very cool. Lots of people in here. Lots of questions. Lots of good conversation. 12 feet tall says he eats snow with a fork. Good for you. Just don't eat the yellow snow, as they say. And yeah, okay. Yeah, fun stream. This is great. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me for 2 hours while I BS about video games and metal music. That was cool, talking metal for a while. Some good friends in here, too. Terminator Juice and Diz is popping in. Sandstorm, Jay. And yeah, so I'm going to wrap up. Thanks for tuning in, guys. A couple of videos coming this week as per usual, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.